So as you see there on the welcoming slide, Mr. Comrade Issa Aremu joins us next. He's a former Vice President of Nigerian Labour Congress and the General Secretary of Textile Workers Union. Well, textile is very key, but we'll see if we could talk about that in a minute. Well, first and foremost, thank you for coming on this morning. And our condolences on the loss of your wife.
Thank you so much for the solidarity and support.
Okay, well, let's talk about the economy. That's a very key strategic area. Well, not many people, some people are not happy with the way it's turning out. Now, our previous guest says he doesn't see a clear direction for him. But there's certain provisions in that budget that has been highlighted by this government. They've talked about several schemes, the social protection one, for instance, allocating to power works and housing. And now they also need to introduce a stimulus to the economy. But having looked at the entire scenario, what sticks out for you?
Well, I think first is the fact that there are a lot of excitement that we are going to have an expanded budget. You know, some talks of budget that will be big enough, to drive recovery. And don't forget that the Vice President actually filled the cards. Professor Osibanjo, that the budget will be within the range of about 8 trillion naira. But now, when it was formally announced by the President to the National Assembly, it was about 6.3 or so trillion naira. It's some improvement from where we are coming from. But honestly speaking, when you disagree this budget, if I've been watching with keen interest, and I want to commend the National Assembly for the excitement to debate the budget, but ask myself, what are we debating? 6.3 trillion naira. It's extremely very token for recovery for 197 million people.
No matter, even though it's an improvement from where we're coming from?
No matter, just get the figure. I was just looking at the numbers this morning. The leading 20 economies of the world, the global average national spending is about $16,000. US alone spends about $11,000 on a citizen per annum. China, with the population 1.5 billion people, it still comes to about $2,000. But that's significant for China. Disaggregate this figure, it's about $150 for Nigeria, $150 per person.
So what would you rather have?
Yeah, how can we get a recovery with this figure? It's
that's the question.
And even then, half of this is going to be financed through deficit. I think we need. I'm giving you this figure to show that.
I think you've just asked the question.
We are going to manage poverty for the next 1 year, and on top of this, some legislators are sitting there. They say they want to buy cars.
Mr. Aremu, I think that this is not new. A lot of people have said that for a country the size. With the size of our population, we should always think of increasing the size of the cake. And I think of somebody who also made this very clear when they were talking about the removal of subsidy and why we could not afford subsidies anymore. Was Mrs. Okonjo-Iweala when she was speaking in Lagos, and she was making comparisons why we're not as rich as other oil-producing countries, and she was talking about our population vis-a-vis what it is that we make from oil. You're beginning to bring that to bear now. The question is, how do you think that we can make this cake bigger?
Yeah, I think that's the bottom line. What I'm saying here is that I thought the debate is such that we should think outside the box of sharing what is far from being enough and thinking of how to grow the base. And interestingly, in the budget, I find it quite exciting. The president talks so much about job creation, about growing the real sector of the economy. In fact, he talks of import substitution. But honestly, I have not seen practical policies that will drive this.
What are you looking to see?
No, I really thought that, you need to, there are some key sectors that passionate, not just because I'm from textile, but just talk of key industries, And I think, let me quickly, because we have limited time, is that I think President Buhari should quickly call a stakeholders meeting, for the manufacturers. And we're not reinventing the wheel. There's a National Industrial Revolution Plan, which has been adopted. Not by Jonathan government, but all the stakeholders in this country, in which there are practical proposals on how to revive the industry. First, there must be electricity, extremely very important. There cannot be industrialization without electrification. And to do so means that even in your policies of putting tariff, you have to have a target on how to grow the real sector of the economy. Because the sector is already down, and if you put more bills in which they increase their production costs, they cannot revive. They cannot be revived. Then, one of the critical issues we also raised in that plan is that you must patronize what is already available as key for driving recovery.
How do they do that?
How do you do that? Well, even at this 6 trillion naira budget, I mean, now I've given you the global picture, but it's still a big money compared to some other African countries. Now, we should ask ourselves, what are we going to spend this money on? Is going to be imported goods or made in Nigeria? Even the so-called controversial cast by the legislators, my joke about it is that, where are the assembly plant? You are just going to transfer money to Tokyo, buy from Japan or from South Africa. I mean, you are not buying made in Nigerian goods. Here. No, that's what I'm saying. Are they spending that money on that? Because that would be key for recovery. That's the point I'm raising. I mean, if you know what it takes to just, I mean, now I think APC government, and I want to commend them, they've now applied this policy of feeding children in schools, you know, I mean, that could be key for revival of food and beverage sectors in this country.
Mr. Number things is a waste of money.
Well, that is a cup of tea. I mean, how can it be waste of money? The real wastage is looted money meant for security, which is being shared left and right by elder statesmen, you know, who are just stealing money. I mean, I think we should be serious. Money spent to feed our children in school cannot be wastage. In fact, Osun has been practicing this, and there are numbers. I mean, regardless of your views about what's going on in Osun, the feeding children alone had improved on school enrollment dramatically. You know, not only that, the nutrition, the quality of education being delivered for children has really changed. Let me give you an example in Kaduna State. Just El-Rufai just started thinking of refurbishing the primaries and secondary schools, buy furniture from local industry. The closed down Kaduna, furniture industry has just revived. It has been revived. Now you can imagine if that's done on a large scale basis.
Do they have a policy to sustain it? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, that we must, that's what I'm saying, the debate at the National Assembly should target this, that every kobo out of this limited fund should be geared towards recovery to realize the objective of the president, who talks of job creation. I mean, take school uniforms. If we all agree that all school uniforms in this country will be produced by textile industry that we have in Nigeria, I tell you, Chambili, we can have close to 100 garment factories.
So those are the kind of
targeted spending.
Always talked about that industry, and now you just mentioned two key industry, the timber industry, the furnishing industry, which also comes out of the timber industry, and you said something about the textile industry. Once we were specific on that, and we're concerned about how much of closures we've seen in that particular sector. Now that we're looking at how to turn around things, it would seem as if we're looking inwards. How much of such industries have we been able to open up, and how best can we help, you know, such sectors, key sectors of our economy?
Yeah, I mean, that's also my reservation about the budget. I think, you see, I look forward to more, you know, I was somewhere before when President Buhari was declared the winner. I was in a program in Nairobi, and we were asked to do